Hello, YouTube and Wooper Club fans. It's Fruit Taco Coach of the Route 1 Burbs, bringing you another feature match from the WCL 14 playoffs, as this week is the semifinals, and we've got the Newport Noctowls going up against the defending champs, the Waterdeep Wobbuffets. These are definitely two of the top teams in the league, always exciting to see what they come up with when they go up against each other. Let's dive into it. The Noctowls have Inteleon, Ogerpon, Iron Jugulus, Mew, Excadrill, Volcanion, Porygon 2, Sylveon, Iron Hands, Hippowdon, and Charjabug, going up against Cyclizar, Sneasler, Screamtail, Latios, Manaphy, Galarian, Moltres, Glamora, Rillaboom, Heatran, Empoleon, and Scrafty on the side of the Wobbuffets. The Wobbuffets, I think, have the advantage in speed here, with the fastest mon in the match being that Cyclizar, and then Sneasler being tied for second fastest with the opposing Inteleon. And we've got Screamtail and Latios. Latios being then speed tying with the second fastest mon on the Noctowls side, that Ogerpon. So you've got four Pokemon on the Wobbuffet side that speed tie or outspeed the second fastest mon on the Noctowls, definitely giving them the advantage in that kind of higher cluster of speed tiers, as well as I think kind of a general faster base speeds and kind of the middle of their roster as well. Looking at the matchup for the Noctowls, well, Fairy, Fighting, Ground, and Ice are the biggest weaknesses, although kind of decently covered by the Wobbuffets. Ogerpon, I think, looks pretty good with plenty of offensive coverage, or maybe even a bulky set to resist the powerful Rillaboom that the Wobbuffets have been loving all season. Mew, I think, similarly could adapt to support the team, or perhaps target specific opponents offensively. Iron Jugulus looks great with Flying Stab and Earth Power coverage being unresisted. Maybe we could see a Booster Energy set for kind of some sweeping in the back half of the game. Volcanion and Iron Hands have the bulk to make work here despite their speeds, but others like Excadrill or Sylveon I think could be a little bit harder to make work here. For the Wobbuffets, well, Fire, Ground, and Ice are the Noctowl's weakest types, with some other solid neutral options like Fairy and Flying. Rillaboom looks strong, with Grass not being particularly well resisted and being able to hit bulky mons like Hippowdon hard, as well as having useful knockoffs, U-turns, and Grassy Glides. I think Latios also looks like a great attacker with Psychic, Thunderbolt, and maybe a Terra coverage for Sylveon. I expect Heatran to be a Terra option with Grass resisting Water and Ground, as well as an option in Bug resisting Fighting and Ground, all types that they could easily bait into attacking and then hit back hard. Overall, I think this is a pretty even match. While both coaches have Pokemon that look threatening, I think both sides are going to go for kind of a bulky offensive approach here, so it'll come down to who gets some early calls right or finds the rooms for some setup or other big play. It really could go either way, but if I'm first forced to choose, I think I might lean in favor of the Noctowls. I just think they have a more diverse set of options. Ultimately, I think I might take the Wobbuffets' bulky pieces in a drawn-out game, but I think the Noctowls have a decent enough shot at a long game too, while having maybe a little bit better of a chance at catching the Wobbuffets off guard and breaking through early. So for that little additional chance, I think I'll throw my lot in with them this time. But like I said, these are two great coaches, two great teams, and it really could go either way. So let's dive into what the coaches will be bringing. Starting off for the Noctowls, we've got Iron Hands, max special defense, almost max attack adamant with a weakness policy. Terra Steel, then to resist Psychic and Fairy type attacks potentially coming into it. Drain Punch Stab with heavy slam coverage, and then Fake Out and Protect. This is an interesting set. Leaning into the special defense makes sense given the generally specially offensive nature of the Wobbuffets team. Weakness policy seems like a bit of a stretch though, I think. You're taking well over half from something like Luster Purge before Terra or Magma Storm after you Terra, and your coverage isn't really set up to take big advantage of that boost anyway. No electric move into potential Take Heart Manaphy or Agility Moltres, no Ice Punch for stuff like Rillaboom or Latios. Heavy Slam is good neutral coverage, but I don't know, this set looks like it really wants that weakness policy boost, and I think something like Assault Vest might have been the better call here for this particular Pokemon. Moving on to Volcanion, max HP, basically max special attack modest with a Grassy Seed to make use of opposing terrain. Terra Fairy mostly lets it blank potential dragon moves for the team as well as resist Dark. Heat Wave and Steam Eruption Stab with Bulldoze coverage for the 4 times ground weaknesses, and then Protect. And, okay, wait, no. Take back what I said about Iron Hand's weakness policy. Okay, alright, alright. We're figuring it out. I'm pretty sure that's intended to be triggered with a weak Bulldoze from Volcanion here, because otherwise you'd run the much stronger special Earth Power or Scorching Sands, and I mean, the 4 times ground weaknesses are actually weak to Steam Eruption anyway, so yeah, no, I like the weakness policy on the Iron Hands a lot more now. I still think it's a little lacking in coverage, but I'm definitely getting behind that Iron Hands set now. Anyway, back to Volcanion. Heatwave and Steam Eruption are great stab options, and while that Bulldoze weakness policy trick is cool and Protect is nice, this does seem a little limited outside of it. 3 opposing Pokemon resist both fire and water, and 2 of them are potential setup mons, which I think could be a problem. It's all worth it, though, if that weakness policy gets activated cleanly, though, and that Iron Hands is able to start doing huge damage and healing a ton with that boosted Drain Punch. Moving on to Ogerpon, max HP, max speed Jolly to speed tie Latios, and then a Citrus Berry for some recovery. The mandatory Terra Grass would boost Ivy Cudgel and give a speed boost, but I really see almost no chance of this actually using the Terra in this match. Ivy Cudgel Stab, knock off coverage, follow me, and then Encore to kind of make a nice supportive set. While I can get behind going for this support style here, I don't know, it really doesn't look like it can do a whole lot on its own. Knock Off is nice, but not particularly good into the other team, and Ivy Cudgel is resisted by 6 Pokemon while only hitting Manaphy super effectively. Play Rough, Stomping Tantrum, U-Turn, I think I'd like to see another coverage option here to make further use of a potential Defiant boost. Although bringing Ivy Cudgel does feel mandatory since Iron Hands doesn't have an electric move for that Manaphy, and it could definitely get out of hand. Similarly, I think I'd like to see Taunt over Encore for a little more proactive disruption, but this, regardless of the move choices, set is going to live or die by how successful the Mon next to it can be. Going on to another support piece with the Mew. Max HP and mixed defensive investment to end up with almost equal physical and special defense. Mental Herb to shake off Taunt, and Terra Poison to resist things like grass and poison-type attacks. Psychic Noise Stab with Will-O-Wisp, Life Dew, and then Thunder Wave all as support options. This is another hard support set like that Ogerpon. Psychic Noise is cute and negates grassy terrain healing, while Will-O-Wisp can neutralize Rillaboom and Sneasler. Life Dew is nice to support the setup pieces on the team, and Thunder Wave is always a good choice. I do think I'm a little disappointed in how safe this set is, though. Tailwind or Trick Room, I think, would be my speed control choices over Thunder Wave, and think how cool it would be to have Alluring Voice punish your other Pokemon, triggering Moltres' Berserk. Okay, alright, well, maybe I'm getting a little lost in the sauce with that one, but I really did expect to see Trick Room on this team to enable Iron Hands and maybe a Sylveon. No second slow attacker means I'd probably then go for Tailwind, but I just think that despite having so many available options, this Mew is playing it a little safe and a little passively and probably resigns itself to Life Dew spam pretty quickly over some more active support options. Going on to Iron Jugulis next, almost max speed Timid, speed ties Modest Cyclizar, but more likely just outspeeds something that outspeeds Modest Inteleon. The rest of the EVs are then split between HP and special attack. Terra Steel resists Fairy and Ice attacks, potentially coming into it. Covert Cloak will stop things like Fake Out or Dire Claw activations. Air Slash and Snarl Stab, although Snarl is a little bit more of a utility option than an attacking move here. Earth Power coverage, and then Tailwind. Here's the Tailwind I was talking about. The combination of Air Slash and Earth Power are great, but I'm wondering how effectively this will be to set up Tailwind. It's got the extra bulk that I was expecting, kind of a more straight offensive set, maybe with a booster energy, but I can see where this set is going, and like I said, just that ground and flying coverage is really, or combination of moves is really good here, and going to be pretty effective into the other side. And last up, we have Excadrill. Max attack, 168 EVs in speed. Jolly nature with the leftover EVs in HP will outspeed max speed Heatran. Mold Breaker will let it hit Latios with ground type attacks. Terra Poison lets it resist fighting and grass attacks and potentially absorb toxic spikes. Assault Vest gives it a little extra bulk than on the special side. We've got high horsepower stab, poison jab, and rock slide coverage options. Rapid spin then to get a speed boost as well as remove potential hazards. Bringing the Excadrill Sweeper, but not with sand, and I can kind of see it. This set hits 7 Pokemon super effectively, KOing the ground weaknesses, of course, doing big damage to the poison weaknesses, and potentially getting some nice rock slide flinches. While it's not particularly bulky, taking 50% from Rillaboom's Grassy Glide, the Assault Vest actually lets it live Timid Heatran's Magma Storm. While I can see this set paying off, I can just as easily see it doing not a whole ton. It's somewhat reliant on Terra to not be KO'd by things like Sneasler that are probably going to outspeed it, and really wants that speed boost to be getting hits off before it takes too much damage. I can see this operating as a late game cleaner though, once those physical threats have been taken care of. Overall, well, a little gimmicky. I think I like this team actually a fair bit. It's really going to rely on pulling off some of those tricks to get a win though. Stuff like activating the weakness policy while not taking too much damage and properly managing the support pieces to help the bulk on Excadrill and Iron Jugulis go just that little bit further, I think will definitely be key to this team pulling out a victory. Shifting over to look at what the Wobbuffets are bringing now, of course that Rillaboom is coming. Max attack with an adamant nature, then 16 EVs in speed to outspeed Pokemon trying to outspeed no-speed Glimmora, with the other 240 then in HP. Assault Vest to give it a little more bulk on the special side, and Terra Grass to boost Woodhammer and Grassy Glide along with the grassy terrain. Fake Out then gives you a little bit utility, and U-Turn gives you momentum as well as hitting something like Ogerpon really hard. This is pretty solid set. Grass isn't great into the Noctowls, but it's not terrible either. Terra Ice, I think, could have been a cool option, or at least bluff for things like Ogerpon or Iron Jugulis switching into a grass attack, but Fake Out support with strong grass type attacks for things like the fast Inteleon and bulky Hippowdon while getting hefty chip on other Mons sounds perfectly good. On to Heatran now, max special attack modest, also with 16 speed EVs to cover anything trying to speed creep it, and then the rest dumped into HP. Terra Grasp will let it resist ground, fire, and they'll let them resist ground and water. And then, of course, you negate that fire weakness while keeping your Flash Fire ability. Life Orb boosted Heat Wave and Earth Power with rocks, and then Protect. Stealth Rock is an interesting bring. Iron Jugulis and Volcanion are both weak to it, and those are definitely nice threats to pressure. And given a team of the Noctowls level, there's bound to be a lot of high-level switching from both sides in this match. You're leaving behind options like Will-O-Wisp for Iron Hands, or Flash Cannon for Sylveon, or just a stronger single-target fire move, though. Terra Grass combined with the Flash Fire makes it a very cool answer to Volcanion, though, while also no longer being weak to Iron Hands and being able to hit back for 50% minimum into max HP and attack Assault Vest sets with your powerful Earth Power coming off of that Life Orb boost. Next, we've got Glimmora. Again, max special attack modest with 16 EVs in speed to deter any speed creeping, and then the rest in HP. Terra Grass will resist water and ground attacks. Power Herb lets it fire off a one-turn Meteor Beam with Sludge Bomb Stab to follow up Earth Power coverage and Spiky Shield. This set hits 6 Mons super effectively, with Meteor Beam being devastating into anything that doesn't resist it. The lack of speed could be a little awkward though, unless you dedicate your Terra to keeping it alive, and I think just a couple extra EVs to outspeed no speed Excadrill would be nice, although there is Tailwind support we'll see later. In Tailwind, this thing looks great though, throwing off absolutely huge attacks. After a Meteor Beam boost, Earth Power has a chance to OHKO max HP Volcanion and even max HP Iron Hands. Especially defensive Powdon and Porygon 2 are really the only things that can stand up to it if it gets going, and they can't take too many hits from it either. Next, we have Sneasler, max attack 176 speed EVs and a jolly nature to outspeed Ogerpon, and an Inteleon that would be barely outspeeding Latios. Covert Cloak and Poison Touch instead of the Grassy Seed Unburdened set we've seen before is an interesting choice, with Terra flying to dodge ground attacks and potentially bluff a boosted Acrobatics. Dire Claw and then Close Combat are the stab options with Protect and Fake Out. Note that Poison Touch does activate after Dire Claw, so there's no risk of losing out on inflicting something more useful like Sleep from that move. Covert Cloak will protect it from Fake Out, but also things like a Steam Eruption Burn, although you don't have the bulk to be freely taking those hits. This set, kind of like Heatran, seems to be a little bit more supportive offense than the sweepers we've been used to these Pokemon being prepped as before. Darklaw and Close Combat are solid moves and come off of a very strong attack stat, but I think its value here is in Fake Out and definitely setting up KOs for its partner to take more than taking it himself, which I like as a direction for the set. I might have still stuck with Unburden though in case of knockoff, or with a Grassy Seed to cover Iron Jugulus or Excadrill getting speed boosts, but cool set overall here. Latios then, max special attack, max speed, timid to speed tie Ogerpon, Terra Poison to resist fairy moves while maintaining nice resist to fighting and grass, and not being too worried about the weakness to ground because you do have Levitate. Soul Dew, boosted Draco Meteor, and Luster Purge protect and then heal Pulse as the last move. This set looks pretty great offensively, with Excadrill being the only Pokemon that resists both stabs, and it can't freely switch into them too much. Luster Purge, with the 50% chance of a special defense drop, can break through things like specially defensive Porygon 2 and Sylveon. Heal Pulse gives the set some support utility like the other offensive mons we've seen. I'd really think about replacing Protect or Heal Pulse with a speed control option though, either Icy Wind or Tailwind. Heal Pulse pairs really well with the next Pokemon, but given the lack of speed on the team, I'd love to take some of the pressure of setting Tailwind off of what is possibly intended to be the star of the team. That's just a matter of preference though, as all four moves here are definitely good choices. And that last Pokemon is the Galarian Moltres. Max special attack modest, 16 EVs in speed outspeeds fast Iron Hands while putting in a little extra to counter any speed creep, and of course the good old 240 left over into HP. Terra Dark is going to boost Fiery Wrath with Weakness Policy and Berserk, giving it a potential of +3 special attack in one turn. Fiery Wrath and Hurricane Stab, and then we've got Tailwind and Protect. This set is absolutely terrifying. Only one flying resist on the other side means Hurricanes will absolutely rip through the opponents if it gets a boost or two, and Fiery Wrath is a 20% chance to flinch on each opponent. I do question a little bit the extent of the cooking with the weakness policy though. You take something like a Sylveon Hyper Voice okay, and maybe a coverage move from something like Porygon or Excadrill. Offensive Iron Hands will still absolutely demolish you with an electric move, so I wonder if moving Tailwind over to Latios and replacing it with a Nasty Plot here, then putting on a Citrus Berry over the weakness policy might ultimately have been the more consistent set. If it can set Tailwind the same turn it gets a weakness policy and Berserk boost though, watch out. +3 Terra boosted Fiery Wrath KOs max HP Volcanion even with the spread, is a favorable roll to OHKO max HP Ogerpon, and even does 50% to specially defensive Porygon 2 and max HP Iron Hands along with the flinch chances. Overall, I like this team, and I'm, for one, welcome the coming of the 16-speed 240 HP meta. I do think this team is quite reliant on Tailwind and Fake Out support though, but the pieces hit so hard that I think they have a better chance of putting in work even without the setup compared to some of the Noctowls gimmicks. Both teams are going bulky offense with some tricks though, so we'll see who comes out on top in the end, and let's find out how it all went down. So, taking a look at team preview here, no Inteleon means that Sneasler is the fastest in the match naturally, and should be able to get off some pretty strong close combats. No Sylveon also opens up Latios to drop additional Dracos, and really, it only needs to worry about that Iron Jugulus. For the Noctowls, no water types means Ogerpon doesn't need to be preserved to deal with something like a bulky Manaphy. And, well, all the attackers look solid, but they do need to watch out for Rillaboom and Sneasler in particular with the strong, fast physical moves. We're going to see the coaches choose to lead off with Rillaboom and Heatran out into Mew and Iron Jugulus, of course setting up that grassy terrain. This is a decent lead for the Noctowls, who can hit Rillaboom with an Air Slash or Heatran with an Earth Power. Fake Out from Rillaboom, of course, could let Heatran get off a big attack or set up those Stealth Rocks. I think both sides playing it a little cautious with these openings. The Heatran and the Rillaboom, of course, a classic pair, but going with the Jugulus and then that support Mew over something like hard into the Volcanion Iron Hands weakness policy shenanigans for the Noctowls. Turn 1, no switches. Rillaboom actually going to fake out the Mew, and Jugulus goes for Tailwind over big damage as Heatran sets up rocks. A lot less happened here than I expected. I mean, Mew can do anything, but max special attack Jugulus has a favorable role to KO Heatran with Earth Power, or easily do over half to Rillaboom with a flying move. I'm not sure rocks here were quite worth that risk when one of the rock weaknesses is already on the field to not switch into it. The Noctowls, I think, either expected a switch or a protect, or just really value getting some extra speed on Pokemon like Volcanion, as they didn't go for that big damage either, so kind of a neutral turn here, and we got Tailwind for rocks. I think pretty fair trade right now. We'll see how it all goes down. Now we've got Rillaboom switching into Moltres while Heatran protects to scout the move, and Jugulus goes for Snarl to get a special attack drop onto any of the special attackers switching in. Mew's going to try and cover Rillaboom with a Will-O-Wisp, but will miss it. Excadrill then switches in to take a potential Dark move as Earth Power crits to KO the Heatran. Only a 1 in 16 max roll could have KO'd without that crit. And then we're going to see Moltres is going to set its own Tailwind before it's joined here by Sneasler, who we see doesn't have that Grassy Seed activation. That crit was, I think, pretty big. There was the max roll that could have KO'd, but without that, I mean, we're looking at Heat Wave coming from Heatran there, would have done 82 to 97% to Excadrill and 54 to 64% to Jugulus, easily setting up either to be KO'd next turn here. But we're going to see back out into Mew in case of a fighting move, but Sneasler's going to click Fake Out, giving a safe switch into Glimmora. Covert Cloak will mean, though, that the Air Slash actually still comes out and does big damage, but does reveal that Jugulus isn't max special attack. And with the Noctowl's Tailwind ending here, Glimmora looks set to fire off an absolutely huge Meteor Beam coming up. Jugulus will switch into Ogerpon. Dire Claw into the Mew, but no status is going to mean that Ogerpon will get absolutely annihilated by that Meteor Beam, but Sneasler will go down as well, as we're going to see a little terrain go, but Rillaboom comes out, sets it right back up, and then Excadrill on the other side with just one turn of Tailwind left for the Wobbuffets here, and of course that Glimmora still looking pretty scary with that special attack boost. Jugulus is going to switch in for Excadrill to dodge a potential Earth Power, but eats rocks and a Fake Out as a big Sludge Bomb goes into Mew, who actually heals both it and Jugulus up with a Life Dew. These were some excellent plays from both coaches. Jugulus could take a grass or ground move, and Mew is going to help mitigate that rocks chip with the Life Dew. For the Wobbuffets, they covered the switch by targeting Mew, while making sure if Excadrill did stay in, Glimmora didn't just go down to a ground move. With Tailwind gone now, Glimmora could be in a position to Terra to keep its big damage on the field. We'll see what the Iron Jugulus decides to target here coming up, because it does have that choice between Earth Power and Air Slash again. Moltres will come in for Rillaboom, not wanting to get burned or hit by a flying move, while Earth Power easily gets the OHKO on Glimmora, and Mew will land the Will-O-Wisp now as Latios comes up. The Wobbuffets didn't use their Terra there. They could have Terra'd Grass to obviously resist the Earth Power. And so they didn't do that. They're saving their Terra. Latios's Terra doesn't look very good here, so they must be planning to use the Terra on Rillaboom or Moltres to try and sweep. I kind of like the Glimmora Terra, though, as you can take out Jugulus while you switch in Moltres, and then next turn Spiky Shield while you set Tailwind back up. Both Moltres and Rillaboom do look quite strong in Tailwind with their Terras, though. Not a whole lot of resisting them on the other side. We will see Draco Meteor takes out Jugulus here, as Mew will go for the Thunder Wave and paralyze the Latios, while Tailwind does get safely set back up for the side of the Wobbuffets, and then Excadrill will come out. I'm a little surprised the Noctowls kept Jugulus in there, as switching to Excadrill I think makes a lot of sense there. You take about a third from Draco Meteor and can then Rapid Spin next turn to clear the rocks. At this point, with the paralyzed Latios, it's all about getting rid of the Moltres, as Excadrill can deal alright with the rest, along with the bulk you have in that Iron Hands and Volcanion. I'm not sure I quite agree with sending it out here, though. I mean, yes, it has the Assault Vest, but I do think you want to save some HP on it for now. I think I might have gone Volcanion, who seems the least useful if it gets chipped here, and then maybe protected as I switched out Mew next turn. Mew being really passive here is kind of awkward, because you don't want to just do some relatively, you want to do chunk the Moltres, but you don't want to activate that Berserk boost and give it plenty of time to wreak havoc with that boost still in this Tailwind. You kind of want to be able to double up into that slot, but with the Mew, it's going to be hard to do that. So we'll see how the Noctowls are able to deal with this Moltres. Fiery Wrath, Mew isn't in range of the Fiery Wrath, but will go down to a follow-up Draco Meteor, as Excadrill is going to get the Rapid Spin off to clear the rocks for Volcanion, but we're actually going to see that the Iron Hands is the one that comes out. Looking at the Draco Meteor from the Wobbuffets, I really don't like that Draco Meteor play. At -2, Luster Purge still did half to max HP Iron Hands, and the Mew, honestly, was more of a liability to the Noctowls right now. Both of your Pokemon are statused. You've only seen a Psychic move from it. I think, really, you're in a nice position here. I just talked about how awkward it is only having one attacking Mon into this bulky Moltres, and I think, really, the Heal Pulse or just Luster Purge, if you're trying to hit a switch, were much better plays than dropping your special attack further here with that Draco Meteor from that Latios. Turn 10, Moltres will Terra to lose the Electric weakness, but both opponents take the Fiery Wrath well enough. Rock Slide will activate Berserk, and a flinch on Latios opens up a KO, but the Iron Hands actually also flinches. Well, that was exciting. Trading flinches is fair, I suppose, but if no flinches happened, Iron Hands had about a 44% chance to KO Moltres, even if Latios gave it a Heal Pulse if it just fired off a Drain Punch there. That would be 2 Berserk boosts if it lived, though, and even just this one boost is making it look pretty scary here, though. With the boost, Excadrill will easily go down there, and Heal Pulse will bring that Moltres back up, but the Heavy Slam actually comes out into the Latios slot, making it a final 2v2, the Iron Hands and Volcanion up against this Rillaboom and Moltres. I disagree with the Latios targeting there for sure. Its special attack is shot, and if you KO the Moltres and the Latios switches out, its special attack is permanently dropped because there's no way to switch out. So you've got that low special attack Latios, and you can also Terra Steel to resist both it and Rillaboom's stab after you heal up from punching the Moltres. Maybe the Noctowls were predicting a Protect. Drain Punch is an 87% chance to KO Moltres, even with that Heal Pulse, though, and the Tailwind ends here, so Excadrill would be faster again, so I really think targeting it down was the call to make. 1 and 2 protects here from the sides of the Noctowls will blank the turn as Fake Out and Fiery Wrath come out, not needing the Tailwind speed anymore. And then turn 13 here, we're going to see Terra Fairy on Volcanion will resist the Fiery Wrath, but the Wood Hammer will come out and KO Iron Hands. Then Heat Wave will come out and bring Rillaboom low while bringing Moltres just above half. And after all that recovery, the Protect will give a little extra terrain healing to the Volcanion, but we are going to see just the double targeting. Of course, with the now single target boosted damage of that Fiery Wrath, is going to do big damage, and the Wood Hammer will finish off the game. That was certainly a tough endgame for the Noctowls, with the Wobbuffets showing the power of Fiery Wrath and Berserk, as well as that of Rillaboom, which has been great for the Wobbuffets all season. I think at the end, the Noctowls needed a double protect on Iron Hands, save the Terra, and also get a burn on Rillaboom with Volcanion. With that, Iron Hands can live the Fiery Wrath plus Woodhammer combo, KO Moltres, and then 1v1 Rillaboom, but that is a long shot. It was an excellent game, though, and while the Noctowls pulled out the early lead, the Wobbuffets were able to claw it back with the impressive bulk and offense of their team to make it back to the finals for a chance at back-to-back championship wins for the Wobbuffets here. Really well played by both coaches, but I am looking forward we will see what is a rematch of last season's finals, the Wobbuffets going up against the Buffalo City Bouffalont. For another championship. Will it go the same way as it did last time, and will I get tired of showing the Wobbuffets on all of these back-to-back feature matches? Well, remember you can like, comment, and subscribe in the meantime, but I will see you in the next video for coverage of those championship finals. See you then.